Maling tutaw sadoy mamsulang ala taal mas aduk ngala Berius la isha al tutaw dire kad malilyak magkayal dungil tutaw al mara other ogulo ranks short either al sil sa staff highlight para get to know our researchers sa center gid kagida sadoy mla o mention na ringiya kesta gid al tutaw Evelyn Ikelau Otto nga PICRC researcher gidera center di era bodo mo ura show so kumong kara katengul me welcome to Brussels Ice so kumong kay gadara mo bang gather sira ko ta show gide welcome back kamam tel ko maramang magadam dengel waseng ngong yerulurior etemelaw the wood malungut total mo kami ro kuy sorry dahil al tutaw mo highlight ra Ikelau ra al sils dire kal ko ra mo nga tele da logering ila se nguk nga ra luriol bla loru lama kuk to ra school en la mo ra school ger maker makuk pepira te al ngiam la mo sa el subra kuk to ra wa training meeting el ora wal lolisi el ngira rele la to ra research maldi mawal kamar kawe Ikelau malungil tutaw and mamaskat elements may kabay tigal introducer ka makadiyo ati ang claim other gera belaw ngar position na kara PICRC
ngul tutaw sulang Singe ngul tutaw sadoy and everyone listening first off adra belaw di komeng ak mo mga dadu Dr. Miguel. But when you call in, please feel free to ask questions in Palawan. I'm very good at understanding, just I can't speak it very well. Okay, so lang Singe mentioned, my name is Evelyn Ikelau Otto. These days I'm going by Ikelau. And I am from Lilio, ever since representing Peleliu State. But I've been living in Koror and I grew up here. I guess a little bit background is my family and I moved to Palau in 1994 and we've been here ever since. My schooling background is I went to Emmaus for kinder. Then I went to Maristela for elementary school, and then I went on to Mizenti High School. During that time, I was a student athlete, so I also, not only did I represent Peleliu for Belau Games and local competitions, but I also had the opportunity to represent Palau in swimming at regional and international competitions. So I have had that privilege to do so for my country. So I guess that kind of started me off on my journey. Singe had asked me to talk about some of my background for school. So in 2007, when I graduated, I went to Hawaii and I attended the Chaminade University of Honolulu. And I got my environmental degrees studies, bachelor's degree in science in environmental studies. And I was there for a few years, about 8 or so. After I finished school, I just did odd jobs. And then the opportunity arose for me to come back home, which was a goal of mine at some point in time. And I think that's something that everybody says, is go to school and come back at some point in time. Luckily, my time was early on in my career. So I came to Palau in 2015 and I started working at PICRC. I started working as a researcher, which allowed me to get into what I was passionate about. Ever since growing up, living in Palau, swimming, the ocean is my passion, nature is my passion, so it was only fitting for me to get into research and conservation, and no better to do it for us here in Palau. So I started working at PICRC in 2015. I am on my 7th year now at PICRC. couple years into working, I got the opportunity to go to Japan in Okinawa to get my master's degree. My master's degree technically is called Master's in Chemistry, Biology, and Marine Science. That sounds like a lot, but just my project had a little bit of each of those components in it. And so I went to Japan for 2 years, from 2016 to 2018. And during that time, I had a great opportunity to be able to conduct my research, my master's research here in Palau, and looking at some of the something to do with Palau, so that my work can be given back to the people. And so one of the topics that I guess was brought up back in other talk shows and wanted to be addressed now was my project that was done at the sewer outfall in Malakal. So as we know, all of our sewer that gets expelled goes to the treatment plant at Icebox or Malakal. And then once it gets filtered through, then it gets flushed out into the ocean, which is a common practice in most countries. And so there was a lot of concerns because with human waste, there comes a possibility of high nutrients and ammonia. And so those are some things that I wanted to look at to see how that impacted the coral reefs and the corals around within Malakal Bay. So for 2 years, my project was basically looking at the conditions of the outflow, which is out there by the channel marker, and how it affects the corals. And I guess I just go into a little bit details on that. Yeah. Okay. So essentially what we looked at was the nutrient concentration, because like I said, that was a concern for human waste when it's introduced to the ocean. There's a lot of concerns with high nutrients increases high algal bloom, so increase in algae. So I looked at the site, and essentially the conditions there at the outfall are relatively good. They're really good. They are actually no different from what we would see in other places that have outflow from like rivers. So at the outflow itself, at specifically where it comes out, it's a little bit elevated, which is understood, but it actually gets diluted really quickly. The perfect thing about the bay is that because you have the east and the west entrance, there's actually a really good flow of current that comes in and out throughout the bay throughout the day. And so with that flow of current and the water changing over, the concentration levels get diluted really quickly.
Okay.
So even though they're slightly elevated at that specific point of where it comes out, if you go 50 meters or 60 feet outside of that, the concentration level is going to be way lower, right? So we looked at how the corals are impacted by this change in environment, because we always say, you know, the corals are really sensitive to environmental conditions, so all of these changes can impact them. And actually what we looked at was the corals are doing very well there. One of the reasons why you see that there's not much coral down at the deep, there's actually a lot of coral up at the shallow, which is great, but out by at the depth of the outflow, which is about 30 feet deep, light availability is really low. And corals need light to grow, right? To photosynthesize, to get their energy. So if not enough light comes in through the water column, then the corals have a little bit more difficult time. So in reality, nutrients and the water quality that comes out of the outflow itself isn't as impactful as just how discoloring it is, how the change in colors. So I think a lot of us who have driven over, when it's outflowing, you can see that the water is a bit murky and dark. So that is actually the reason why the corals, why we have less corals in that area, is because there's not enough light coming through. It's not necessarily the water quality coming out of the outflow.
I see.
So that's a really good thing about the area. There's actually, when we looked at the community in the area, we saw that there was no significant increase in algae. So we say that nutrient increase will cause an algae bloom, which is the case in some places around the world. But in Palau, it's not the case. So we don't see an algae bloom because of the outflow there. I think it's just really important, because I know that I've been approached by multiple people talking about increase in algae and asking if that is the reason if that's a cause from sewer. And I think it's just a really important note to say that algae is seasonal. So macroalgae is seasonal. So just like on a mango tree, you don't get fruits 24/7, right? You don't get fruits all year round. You'll get the mangoes during the seasons, and so same for all of these other fruiting trees, right? They mostly are seasonal. It's the same thing for the algae. There are seasons in which they just love so much, and they'll grow at a high rate, and then at other seasons, they'll die down because it's not ideal for them, that they don't like. So it's not necessarily an anthropogenic, is what we would say. It's not exactly a human impact. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to talk about for the outflow and my project. It was a really great project. I'm currently in the process of publishing my work. But my master's thesis is available at PICRC. So if anybody is interested in reading it, feel free to call us, or you can ask me. But yeah, that's the work that I was doing over my master's program. Yeah, so I was able to come back. Every 3 to 6 months, conduct some field work. I either do some stuff in the lab here at PICRC, or I would take samples back to Japan and further analyze them there. But yeah, so that's my work on the master's program, and I'll leave it for later when we have callers for questions, or there's more questions afterwards. But I just wanted to touch on just some of the work that I'm doing now. So since I've been back, through my master's program, my advisor is actually, her specialty is water quality and ocean acidification work. And so since I've been back, I've been a part of the project on building our ocean acidification lab here at PICRC, and also collecting water samples and water quality measurements at all of our different sites that we survey. And I do this so that we can have a baseline, because ocean acidification is an effect of climate change. And this is something on a much global scale, but it's something that we need to track. Changes don't happen every day. Changes happen by the years, right? So what we see, one of our sites that a lot of people reference is Ngormit Bay. Ngormit Bay has a really low pH, which means that it's more acidic. And I don't know if this is the right way to describe acidic, but I like to say that it's magamim. Yeah. So it's more acidic than what you would find out in the ocean and out in the reef itself with constant flow. And so with that, corals don't like those conditions. But as you see in Ngormit Bay, there's corals surviving. and they've survived over thousands of years. So we're trying to see how did the corals adapt in the bay? What are some features that make them stronger than those outside? Because in other work that we've done is we take corals from the reef, maybe lighthouse, and put them inside Mormith, and they die right away. But that's because it happened really fast. As climate change and ocean acidification, it happens at a much slower rate. So we try and see how these changes will occur, and we monitor our oceans around Palau so that we can see these changes as it happens. So that's one of the projects that we're doing here at PICRC, is establishing our database for our water quality, and then also we're going to be doing some experiments in the coming future. So that's those are some exciting stuff for me.
Ikelau kumal sulang alnos mo dia project ko, but just to go back ko recap so you were doing your master study till so we're outflow ang malal, and then how time lo mention as say cell ay galbek kal process ra suwer ang go through a filter so cell top cell bar niya outflow or cell top and it should be clean and filtered, right? So you're saying as still top that up, it's not actually causing the corals mental sal kora role, but it's actually the light length del elava balngaringi mental sal cloa light del morning.
Yeah. So it's filtered from all of these from the nutrients and like bacteria such as E. coli and stuff, so that when it comes out, it's relatively clean. It's not clean water per se, but it's not it doesn't have contaminants in it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Como lo mencioné, todo el dilute, basta el top de un wal mered el dilute, so seguro Abdul hacen wal mered el mix lo bengel ti al dabling ngaringa tawa al ramadal say mong wal mered el flash out wal mered el mixer tal dab man da al sa glow impact ngil wal qura madha el ral baldi el laq el bay qura omgarola bacteria or anything.
Yes. So just a little bit on that is in some places that have algae blooms, they have a lot less water flow going through it. Okay. So the water sits there a lot longer. But in the bay, it flushes regularly.
Okay. And then, ang nga ako nakarigal til master's program or how. So, kung level sa 2015, ako start a PICRC lawyer researcher. So, and then ako during your time lawyer a PICRC, and then kumlo apply tayo the master's program, right? So, that program ka din ako apply ni or through the center ako yung sa BML Mortal program.
No, this opportunity came through the center, so I'm super grateful. The master's program that was offered was part of a 5-year project that Palau had with Japan, with JICA. And so through this 5-year project, they gave 2 opportunities for master's degrees. And the first one was Victor Nestor. He went and got his master's, and then when he was done, he came back. I had applied to go for the second round. But it was through this 5-year project that through JICA and PICRC. So,
all right. Okay. So, and masige da mga master ka may kanang school ra chemistry, biology, and marine science.
Yeah.
So ul makakumsuba to ko ra ocean acidification sa ko ra malmo kami mata.
Yeah.
Color. Yeah, that's alam mo.
Okay, malungit tuta ko lang nga raer.
Oy, kumansaul mudolong. Akira wasi al sugumang madadengki dia kabak up matial rosewich atop del morada opo ngaria impact ni mora ada mga rapid sulang.
Oy, that's a very good question. I would say that with power outage, if they flush out raw sewage, one of the things that are a concern is E. coli and bacteria. And that's something that I do believe EQPB monitors, is the bacteria concentration that comes out of the outflow. But in terms of nutrients and the impact that it has on that area, it's very limited because even if it's coming out as raw sewage, the ocean is still flushing. The tide is still coming in and out. So it is still getting diluted. And so you might, I mean, we haven't done studies, and I apologize, I haven't looked at it during an outage or when they're doing, when they're releasing raw sewage, but the power outage wouldn't last for an extended period of time. I would assume that maybe if they're flushing out raw sewage continuously over an extended period of time, we might see some issues, and that's something that we would need to look into. But if it's an one-off occurrence where the power just goes off now for the day and then comes back on later on, I don't believe that it would have an impact on the coral environment because it's continuously flushing. I hope that answered the question.
I see. So ngora wal tulaseng mother vengi and so let's say mother vengi and wal vil top the tel rosu which the filter. Ngora was the laseng the sal cloa impact ringi let tel dab el marsay Berius ma sisbel la dab ma tabdel la dab wal le mix ringi mong mared el muatter dab el qalqal el qora أمك أخرى ما نيجي بايجين المذاق السلم while they continuously circulate the per se من while مرد الفايلوت سيجد الغرا so even though they filter the top and then غني يتقلل they المالكلول impact لين تيجي في البريوس ما عمره اللي لا per se يجي البشو I see. Okay, so kamal msulang Ikelau ramal kora interesting al topic en dirigal ko ramlam asar sa last al show am le ko lingel gole yak ko ramlo bigi kasi tagalela kal sa Evelyn el kora onyeringi ya tira wasa Ikelau amirura umsubel tegi del rukto ko ra asur outfall ra ngamala alma agi ko ramal mlo happy men ko ramlo sa Evelyn invite tingin may el tutaw so ako na di mo ogira ka Ikelau kasi ngora wangarang daily routine ka as a researcher yung ngora di so ko otia siya sing ngora ngara real moral or maybe not daily but let's say within a month ngara ngora agil moral to of course hindi kasi amitin mo laro to sa one day.
Yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, daily is hard for us because our day kind of changes every day. We try and plan out our week, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. So for a month, say for example, we're doing a MPA survey this month. So we would have get together as a research team, talk about our MPA project that we need to be surveying. Say, for example, maybe we're going to Ngaralong. So Ngaralong is a little bit farther. We would have to deal with logistics. So we're going to Kayang, or we're just surveying in Koror. So it's a lot closer. We talk about logistics and planning. We come up with days. We set everything up for our field work. We get our team together. We contact the state and let them know that we're coming. And so once we do our fieldwork prep for the month, then we would divide it up into either office work. So there's papers that constantly need to be written. So I'm writing papers, analyzing data. And then I also spend some time in the lab analyzing water. So I would spend maybe a week out of the month, 2 weeks out of the month doing data, split that with helping out with the field work. and then also helping out with writing. And then I also help out the other departments if ever they need, whenever something comes up, like a community outreach where we need to go talk to the community or a presentation. And then we do collaborations. So we're also in training. So we're doing statistics training. So we're taking classes. We're doing ocean acidification classes. So we have some classes throughout the week as well. So.
Okay, malungil tuta ko ler kang raer.
Oi, malungit total mer kami rogui. Sel based observation ra guk osngegar sel el output pipe el ngar sel corner sel koraptilo la angara icebox el mora igel boy malubeng margins sel va la modia ka desang. Tial el outflow adito de tial saidra al duk. Taratay mak nase o mesringi lo meba al metod magumestringi wasi jangora lagi ngari available extender mosel el molo mensebel la current robat kel dilutringi en el mute elang ndira kal mgatpok e vai mlam tamal sel pasio mlamongang ka sel ngani sel vibe mesel de bon mal bagum ku me gora bula klo asidri sengat magil ngul de swal kamal musura.
I thank you for the call, and for your question. What's that concentration level flowing? Okay. I do know that I'm not sure what the sewer outflow project was going to do. I know they were looking at possibly extending the pipe. Ideally, it would be good if the pipe was extended further into the channel, so that it helps with the flow. Now the bay has 3 or 4 entrances. We'll say 3, so that we have the east and the west entrances of the main channels, but we also have the areas by I don't know the name, the Japanese cut that comes into PICRC. Or the one by drop-off. So those are smaller channels that the ocean flushes through. So current can flow in that directions as well. The plume is very murky, and it causes the area to be very murky. But a lot of the cases, what goes up in the plume actually settles at that area. So it doesn't travel too far out. So we see that within the 100 meters from the plume, most of the sedimentations that coming up, all of that stuff that's in the water, that's suspended, it's coming up into the water, and then it's settling right around the area. And it's not traveling too far out. But I think the reason why it just continuously looks like that is because the plume is continuously flowing. And I honestly don't know the rate in which the outflow is flowing, or if they have a schedule, or if they're just 24/7. So that's something that I cannot answer, and I don't want to put any numbers to it. But from my knowledge is, as it continuously flows, those sediments will always be there, will always look like they're there and they're not going anywhere. But these are just new additions, and what's been released is settling down or moving out, and others that
So a question ako le was saying le so ngomes ringiye ngangi abay balon the right along the tel alduk la eng to ba da lakong wal to ba da tel sewer outfall long number da kale sabay versel kula to ali say. So I guess his question akora tel o may betal question ringi was say nga ogel was ya sugu metel suwala di to ba da ngangi abay bal di pera da tel alduk le dio mo sel to ba da ringi morada. Is there a difference or say lang was say a ulma temiru rabay bal more set kul alduk mang sa el dilute. But alokong observation na ringi was say tel suwala wadil to ba da kul alduk le. So it's not really out on the channel ang wal ko di meder tial below. So I think his question was is that like get the concern that ngi lang was ako am sa sendia ka mal floraral or anything like that.
I cannot answer that right now.
I see.
I can look into it. I do know that it's relatively close to the shore. He's been there, but if you haven't been there, it's just a steep drop, and then once you get to 30 meters, then the pipe outflows. So it's the pipe is extended just to the base, and then it comes out.
Okay.
So ideally, it would be good to push it, make it longer, to come out into the channel more. But I don't really know.
Okay. Thank you.
Sabi ng kalkole. Kaya malungil tutakoler nga raer.
O malungil tota el merga sado y comtirgan abra PICRC. Sado y agera tiagi ko ka dio gelo asay. El ano y sei que se area. Hay que ni el wala malibe ka sei que del madala ngamla. Hay que se pedel ma malu. Sei que agera ko mamsulang.
Yeah, I do believe you can eat them. I don't see any reason not to. The water is not contaminated, and so the area is healthy. So you can swim there, you can fish there. Just some people might not to because of what it is. But yeah, I think you can.
Elay galangan niya. Tele outfallera. Sewer system nga bitara. CIP, diagal outfall and several nga niya problem overflow yung metoda si. Mlatan rali ako study masuber tiagi the channel arbitara PICRC el mera Long Island el bedola Peleliu Club el more angaling. Seguida tara ko to outflow ngi regal overflow ra sewer. E beto ga adan mangdubra sel area. Ngani ako rablam kat makli study girel si.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, I haven't done any studies in that area. I know I've been asked if I have in the past. We haven't done any studies there, mainly because, so for us to measure nutrient concentration, we need to collect the samples and send them off to Japan or other labs. We don't have the capability because there's a lot of chemicals process. It's a chemical process to run through the samples. So we don't have that capability here. And unfortunately, during the time of our surveys, that the outflow never overflowed. Not the outflow, but the one next to CIP never overflowed. So we never added that into sample to look at. But it's something that we could definitely, we'll keep in our mind. So when we have the capability, we will look at it.
Great. Thank you. Ma'am Sole, Ikelau, sa ato'y ma-travel caller sa malungit question. Dire Ikelau, dire kam mention na sa ngaringi kay givel il-baby na researcher, ngaringi kay givel il-baby na training il-mulay, wa tukara ocean acidification, mga memorata, mga statistics. So, talaga dire kal researcher, msubrata, banting ka dire kal walang kal school, ngaringi kaya kita kuk training el attend ya center kita mal encourage other lawyer center but lomal masculir malubang nga kaya kita training mga clearing opportunity mailing wala ko ra capacity building and increase the capacity kita sa other more mula rele ma sa kita kukora amle share kita LLC sa amlo highlight ta Ikelau ang kadili kalmal ngil researcher center kita kadil researcher PICRC kadili kalban na top athlete traveler velaw dili kalmal mention na ka training lo sokola to sports era abalilyo dili kalom era blue velaw national team ngaringi ako rango el corazon mel share before the kora started close ra shore kita el tutaw.
No, I think just to highlight on, this, how much the center encourages education and further knowledge. It's very easy to say, you know this, go and do it and keep doing what you know. But, with science, it's constant learning and there's constant changes. And so we have to be able to adapt, and especially with all that's going on. The center has been a great encouragement for us to do that. We actually, just to highlight on our ocean acidification work, we what do you call it? We got a project with the International Atomic Energy Agency, and they have it's an opportunity to provide us with an ocean acidification lab at the center, but also that it provides opportunity for training. So that's one of the OA trainings that we're doing right now. But additionally, myself as well as MQ, Makunli Masinge, he's our research assistant. We will be going to Hawaii to further our OA training so that we can bring back these knowledges and help Palau as well. So, and it's kind of difficult because we have a lot of field work and a lot of projects already on our plate. But PICRC, encourage us to do these kinds of trainings, and we make our field work with and allow everybody to get these opportunities. So last time I went on a training with Uli, Planet Sudong, and so this time I get to go with MQ. And so we'll bring back these knowledges and better the work that we do here at the center.
Right. Okay, so thank you, Ikelau. Tagi the Loram 8:45. Era boda close to Shargi, then Gorading announcement, del Sokal mo making. So, Santargi the Elangaringia job vacancy announcement, Tiang al position resilience advisor. Yeah, Santargi the Osigar applicants and Murtagi the position a resilience advisor. Tiang al Luriora mobile surveillance. Yung partner sa kukwela la center lo bangkela Great Barrier Reef Foundation Australia, Great Barrier Reef Foundation, through the Resilient Reefs Initiative. Yung global initiative support the World Heritage listed coral reef sites. Ma communities will depend on coral reefs. Ospel din kal coral adapt more climate change may good local threats will give ngaringi et yang al luriora wal kora la lurior ngi center gid ma tegi del Great Barrier Foundation Great Barrier Reef Foundation Resilience Reef Initiative ma state government el civil lawyer lo sige gigi lo sing makarama resilient coral reef mega community dependra reef forgive. So well, as I tell vacancy announcement, they get duties and responsibilities that are other the book we will talk about. But yung I was say the duties and responsibilities of resilience advisor is to coordinate and convene regular calls between Palau International Coral Reef Center, Great Barrier Reef Foundation, Coral State Government to discuss progress and opportunities for partnership. They will act as a site's representative and liaison to the Resilience Reef Initiative, including collaborating with peers in the network, learning and sharing best practices, and engaging potential partners across industries and sectors to advance strategy development and project design. Establish and maintain collaboration with Resilience Reefs Network of CROs and resilience advisors, and build the skills and knowledge to use the Resilience Reef Initiative strategy, process, and tools to bring appropriate tools to the site. To work with local stakeholders and Resilience Reef Initiative partners on design and development of local projects, to share insights and opportunities on how to best progress work in Palau, and to ensure global partnership opportunities are identified and established. Establish and maintain collaboration with a wide range of internal and external stakeholders across the site to ensure active and inclusive input and participation. Assign na rin niya supervisor ngi. So tial opening abol PICRC tel center gid ma tegi the resilience reef initiative amo provide mal close support ma capacity building of mortal position tel chap vacancy announcement ta already nga site ra ma'am nga dire kan nga Facebook page ra ma'am at Palau International Coral Reef Center magiging the basic qualifications mateletele la about the applied telurior gel kuk tokoy qualifications pabira waseng ngiranya master's degree in environmental science, natural resource management, sustainable development or other closely related field and digimal encourage ra other the bachelor's degree or tagi del field diregal sa adalom review ako total experience ra so agimal encourage ra mata apply and tagi del lurior malbato ka nges training el diregal el sabel most move through this position mo oyo labangala center gidra PICRC ma tagi del resilience reef initiative ma diregal partner labangala gidra Coral State Government thanks sa el mo-altaw tarela lang kay resilience advisor. Maso mga nga question or kamil gilal tiyang malubo kong interested yung mas illegal ra center gidra 4886950 o tiya karim ko rin sa il makrarakan mo rin gil el sa el mohente kay gidal kay kukilal tayo gidal el posisyon. Aso kung makamukuk ka ang arawa Facebook maduol search ra internet to kamal di mera website ra ma'am nga ringi link sa click ngokralaw al more tagi al description more detailed sodel and then ang oti ako teletele ra sang makarapam apply mar telurior close ra sa March 16, 2022 ra next month magimal mga nera ato matamo apply mar telurior agi mo continual reminder adal mo apply so kumarm sulang dire kal ngaringi ang miscellaneous nga karakuk to ko arts and tights calendar the reminder al more sensei more principal mga school reminder ng algiw art sergi dura March 30th next month and sa mil na start ta school man sa ilo ta ka art certificate man deliver before sa time also ko mang karamam ta arsul and sa ildi bimok kalmaya art certificate mala center deliver a front desk ya art and tights calendar gidra 2022 ko isa sing nami shipment so agi dira kami ngira tigingil trigal vendor gimblem order calendar team la medial magimal di mingil til madeliver el alsis malubang kluro esali adam al process yagi mo otabdi announcement ra Facebook or mama aliga gi mo ko la rawe sa toy mo kom dio ay sara adam si imema calendar til agi maldi ayamara ko plongo sa calendar di gagi del mlame on island mga maldi utang aling adi el sali el alwi ke ang mosabe el ko distribute tay gagi del additional calendar giblem or there malway say also kung mangkora digayang question malubang comments roman sulang almle or nang sige dara Berius ay al tutaw ding ako mal excited makmo o ay salwasa sa next show gidra March 8 ngangi amal special el guest gidel ngal Ikelau el ngarbela el altam el mrura subel kuktora dire suba amrand nga skura University of Hawaii Manoa nga master seringi ko transition ng mamlara PhD ringi so sige del March 8 ko ring sabi ko mera show ko ko mamuhay ang kay del special guest ringi ko ay sa training ringi lasing mil karangi pursue ko to ka school la marine biology